Hello Year 5 and welcome to our introductory lesson to science for this week. We're going to be looking at time zones. Now this is a term you might have come across, you might not, but it all revolves around the Earth revolving. As you can see, the Earth is spinning on its axis, and because of this we have day and night. You can see quite clearly on this image that the sun is over here on the left-hand side of the image, casting its rays down on the Earth. And this side, the left side, as we're looking at it, the left side of the planet is lit up, so that's daytime. And the right side is in darkness, so for them it's nighttime. Now this means that we need to think carefully about our time, the clocks in different countries around the world. Because if you imagine, if all the countries had the same time, then a country that was at say 9 o'clock in the morning here, and also 9 o'clock over here, and 9 o'clock over here, and 9 o'clock over here, would make very little sense, because it would be 9 o'clock everywhere. Some of them would be in daylight, some of them would be in darkness. And so it would be very, very confusing. So, a little while ago, a group of men came together in a place called Greenwich near London and agreed that we would have different zones, different time zones around the world, that the Earth itself will be split into 24 sections. And as you move into each section, the time, your clock, will move on 1 hour or move back 1 hour, depending on which way you're traveling. This meant that wherever you were in the world, if the sun's rays were overhead, directly overhead, so the sun is at its highest point in the sky for you, then it's midday. And if it's in the middle of the night, so the sun is shining on the other side of the planet, then for you it's midnight. Okay? So that was the logic behind it. They worked out where midday was for London, for the UK, and then equally split the Earth into 24 zones, 24 sections. Okay, so if we look at this map here, this is a map of the world, and you can see at the bottom there are different coloured zones, different coloured sections. Okay, what this means is that here, up this middle stripe here, that includes the UK and all the countries in this sort of orangey brown colour, okay, they fall under what we call GMT, which is Greenwich Mean Time. So this was agreed by all these men that this would be the starting point of our clocks, okay, of time. So if you imagine that it is 9 o'clock in the morning, so 9 a.m. in the UK, then it's also 9 o'clock in the morning for Iceland, which is just here. It's also 9 o'clock in the morning for Portugal, just here. And it's also 9 o'clock in the morning for these West African countries here, because they're all in that same band and the same colour. Now, if you enjoy travelling over to Europe, then if you've ever travelled to Europe, you will know that when you land in Spain or France or Germany, you have to adjust your watches. Now we can see that the yellow countries are in this band here, and that's +1. That means that we add 1 hour to their time. So there's the UK, and if it's 9 a.m. for the UK, then that means that for Italy, which is in the yellow zone here, which is 1 hour further on, then when it's 9 o'clock for the UK, it's 10 o'clock for Italy, because it's +1 hour. It's 1 hour ahead. Okay. Now, we can also go back. If we travel to the west, if we travel this way to the left on our map, then we can make the time, say, go backwards. We can take hours off. So if we we travel to Brazil, which is here, this darker blue area, then we can track down and we can see that this part of the world is 3. It's 3 hours behind the UK. So if the UK is 9 o'clock in the morning, then we're going to go backwards 3 hours on our watches. So if we fly to Brazil, we have to put our watches back 3 hours. So instead of being 9 o'clock in the morning, it's now 6 o'clock in the morning. 9, take 3. Okay, so 6 o'clock in the morning in Brazil, when it's 9 o'clock in the UK and 10 o'clock in Italy. Now, some countries are really, really big, so big that they have more than one time zone. So if we look at the USA, then you can see all these different colors, means that these different parts of the USA are in different time zones and have different times. So if you decide to travel across America, then you're going to be changing your watch 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay, so if we decide to go to Los Angeles, which is on the west coast of America, that's in this pale blue section, which if we track down and look on our map, we can see is -8. That's 8 hours before the UK. So let's go through again. When it's 9 o'clock in the UK, we're going to go back, take away 8 hours. So 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so if it's 9 o'clock in the morning in the UK, it's 1 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles. So you don't want to be phoning them because they're all in bed. And this is something you have to think about. If you've got relatives in different parts of the world, you need to think, what time is it for them? Is this a convenient time for me to be calling them or Skyping them? Okay. Now, this is say you can look all over the map and see if you can work out if you know any of the countries and what the time difference is. So I know that Australia is down here, and I can see that the west coast of Australia, the green bit, is 8 hours ahead of the UK. So if it's 9 o'clock for the UK, then it's going to be 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 in the afternoon, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Australia or in the west coast of Australia. Okay. Australia is quite big, so it's got a number of different time zones, as you can see. Okay. I'm hoping this is making sense. We are going to look at this in a lot more detail in the lessons, but it's just this idea that the Earth has been split into 24 bands, 24 zones, so to allow us to all have midday, 12 o'clock midday, when the sun is overhead. And for all of us, our midnight to be when the sun is right the way around the other side of the planet. Okay, and then all the other times in between. I will see you during the week. Take care.